Whenever I talk about how to ask for a raise, I talk about how we need to remember that our compensation is not just base salary. And so it's natural that I get follow up questions about negotiating the full package. So let's jump into those. The first one is how to negotiate remote work, flexibility, or benefits alongside pay. And my answer here is to do it delicately. If you see that there are examples in your organization of where certain people do have flexibility, remote work options, or certain other benefits, then that provides you with the knowledge that these are not culturally inappropriate things to ask for, and that you won't necessarily be judged poorly if you do. And I say that because I know that remote work is a hot topic right now. But if this is an organization where there has been a very clear statement that everybody is expected to be back in the office and people are following that and exceptions are not being made, and then you ask for an exception based on your personal circumstances or because you see this as a form of compensation, it's not necessarily going to be viewed well, and could actually be seen as an emotional ask. And so that's why I'm advising, and I say this in many cases, but certainly this one, to really look around the organization, read the room, as they say, notice the cues. What are the realistic benefits that you can be asking for that exist somewhere? While I love creativity overall, this is not, in my opinion, a place where you want to be getting overly creative. But if there are specific things that are really important to you, and you're turned down for a raise, you certainly can say, I understand. And actually, boss, I want you to know that I don't view my compensation here as just being about my base salary or even my total financial compensation. There are a lot of other things that I see as valuable compensation as well. And speaking of that, I would really like the opportunity to work from home if I staff an event late at night, right? Something like that. So, that's a kind of a specific example. And so think through kind of what that would mean for you. But my point really here is to notice what's acceptable and what might not be completely out of context or overly creative for your organization. The next one is using non competes, executive responsibilities, or unique skills to negotiate more. So really, these are things that should have been part of your upfront negotiation, but that's water under the bridge for this conversation. Um, and so what you can do in this case is you can mention this as part of your case for a raise, but assuming that these are not new elements of your employment agreement, you really still want to be going back to the best practices that we've covered on how to build that case, how to show your value over time, and how to come in with a really fact-based case for your raise. Negotiating raises when there are no open positions is another question here. And that's okay. There are times where, without getting a promotion or without moving to a new job in the organization, you can demonstrate your value and there is room for you to get more money as part of your role. So I wouldn't be deterred by the fact that there are no open positions today. If you are turned down for that raise because it needs to come with a job change or a promotion, then certainly your follow up questions should be okay, and what is the expected pipeline with which new jobs will be opening? When will we see those? And what is my realistic trajectory here, given that today there are no open roles I can be promoted to? Again, it goes back to being really clear about what your ambitions are and using it as a conversation to get information from your manager about whether those ambitions are a long term fit with the company or whether it's a place where you can do great work or have a good time today, but not necessarily the place where you will be able to realize all of your ambitions. When and how to ask for inflation adjustments or cost of living increases. Um, you're not going to like this answer. I don't recommend that. If an organization has acknowledged that there is a cost of living increase in the area or that inflation exists, which we know it does, then they will make that decision to give increases across the board. What you really want to be asking for is an increase that is based on the value you have brought to the organization. So make it about that. And for those more standard adjustments that we often think should be made, if those are going to be made, everybody will get them. And then lastly, how to position yourself in consulting, client billable, or fee sensitive industries. This is really not, my expertise if you're talking about the freelance type of role. But if you're talking about working for a consulting firm or an agency where you have clients, ideally you have more clients, you are charging them, they don't want to pay that much. That is somewhat going, that can be somewhat limiting in terms of the raises that you'll be able to get. Because, for example, if the industry is competitive and all of a sudden there are fewer clients or your clients have brought down their retainers, then just like in any other industry, there's less revenue for your organization to pull from for raises or frankly for anything else. And so the same rules apply here about thinking strategically about your timing and acknowledging what the challenges may be when having those conversations with your managers. If you just lost a major client, especially if your team had anything to do with it, give it a minute before going back in and saying, here's my fantastic case for why I should be paid more. You can also look across the industry. If the entire industry is challenged and nobody is getting raises, that's a little bit different. But if you've fallen below what you feel is a competitive salary, while other consulting firms or marketing agencies, to continue using those examples, are doing just fine and paying people well, that's a conversation to open up with your manager and potentially a sign that your particular fee based organization is not in the best health and you may want to explore other options.